Thank you very much. Let me welcome you to Math Zone African Motives, whereby today I want us to look at Business Studies Grade 12. Business Studies Grade 12, Term 2 notes, whereby we are going to look at this topic, business sectors and their environments, business sectors and their environments. So this is where we are for today. Business sectors and their environments. So we want to write this correctly. Business sectors and their environments. So that is that. So firstly, we are going to go through the terms and definition so that you know the terms that are going to be used throughout the topic. So that is that. So we are going to start with the terms. So the first term that we're going to talk about is a business sector. Business sector. This is the term that you're going to start with. So the definition of a business sector says a business sector is a subdivision or subset of the economic activities. So it even says example, this is where we're going to talk about primary sector, secondary, as well as tertiary sector. So as it says, it's a subdivision or subset of economic activities. So it's a division of economic activities in an economy. Like we are given an example of primary sector, secondary, as well as tertiary sector. So now coming to primary sector now. Primary sector, this sector deals with extraction of raw materials and natural resources. So primary sector extracts raw materials from nature. They extract raw materials from nature. For example, we can talk of mining gold, we can talk of fishing, we can talk of farming maize. All those are the examples of the primary sector. Now we have another sector which is secondary sector. We have another sector which is secondary sector. As it says, this sector processes raw materials into finished goods. So secondary sector is about processing raw materials into finished goods or semi-finished goods. For example, turning a wood into furniture or making clothes from cotton. That is that. Now coming to tertiary sector, this sector renders service to other businesses or provides auxiliary. So with tertiary sector is about providing service to people and business. For example, you can talk of banks, you can talk of hospitals, you can talk of transport services. So that is that. Now we have business environments as one of the terms that you have to know. As it says, these are all internal and external factors that affect the functioning of a business. So we're supposed to say functioning of a business. So that is that. So these are the business environments. So it's all about all internal and external factors affecting a business. So here it was supposed to be a business functioning of a business. So that is that. So we are talking about them. We are talking about all internal and external factors affecting a business. For example, employees, they are internal. Competitors, we know they are external, but both they do affect the functioning of the business. So that is that. Now we also have microenvironment. Microenvironment. So microenvironment says this environment is the business itself. It consists of all elements. So microenvironments, we talk of internal environment within the business. These are the internal environment within the business. Example, you can talk of employees, you can talk of management, you can talk of the organizational resources, you can talk of finances of the business. So those are falls under micro environment. Now we have what we call market environment. We have market environment. As it says, this environment exists immediately outside the business. So external environment is found externally outside the business, but is directly with the business. It found directly outside the business. So meaning to say external environment is close to the business. It's close to the business. We are talking of the customers. Customers are close to business. We're talking about competitors, suppliers. Both are close to business, though they are found externally or they are found outside the business. Macro environment, this environment exists outside the micro and the market environments. That is macro. So macro external, that is an external environment far from the business. This one is not close to business. It's far from business. We can talk of the government laws, economy, political changes. They are far from the business, and the business has no control over those ones. They have no control at all. Then we have extend control. As it says, the amount of influence that a business has on the business. So that is how much influence a business has over the environment. We can talk of full control over employees, no control over laws. So full control over employees, it means you're talking about the micro, which is found internally in the business. You can control your employees. You can change your vision and missions, statements of your business because you have control over it. But with but we where you don't have control at all, that's when we're talking about macro environment. Like you can't control the laws of the country as a business. So hope we are together on that, good people. So now let us move on. Let us move on to business sectors now. Let us move on to business sectors. As it says, business sectors are subdivision or subsets of economic activities. Like we've said, that examples is primary, secondary, as well as a tertiary sector. So those are the examples of the business sector, which is a subdivision or subsets of economic activities. So now let us be on types of business sector. And so we have primary sector. We have primary sector. As it says, this sector deals with the extraction of raw materials and natural resources. Natural resources which are not man-made. So you're talking of coal, you're talking of gold, fish, livestock are extracted from this sector. So examples of primary sector is industries. Sector industries are mining, farming, fishing, agriculture, forestry, and as well as farming. So that is primary sector. So primary sector is the extracts natural resources. It extracts natural resources. That is when you're talking of primary sector. We're talking about the extracts. It extracts natural resources. Natural resources. Like we've said, that's when you're talking about those it takes from nature. It takes from nature. We are not talking about the man-made. So that is what we're saying coal, gold, fish, livestock. They are extracted from this sector. So that is that. Now coming to secondary sector. Secondary sector. This business sector is responsible for changing the raw materials acquired from primary sector, acquired from nature, in short, into useful or meaningful products. So it also includes manufacturing factories, construction, energy generation. So examples of secondary sector industries are manufacturing, loafing, food processing, building, as well as constructions. All these are found in this sector. So with this one, you're saying it converts raw materials into products. Converts raw materials into products, into useful or meaningful products. So that is that. These are what you call a secondary sector. So you can manufacture bread from wheat. Wheat is a primary sector. So once you convert it into bread, now it becomes what? A secondary sector. Are we together? So let us move on to tertiary sector. Let us move on to tertiary sector. This sector renders service to the public and businesses. It includes services from transport, banking, legal, and health. Examples that falls under this sector are the following: distribution, banking, insurance, tourism, transportation, entertainment, retail, as well as legal service. So with this sector, which is tertiary sector, we're saying it offers services. That is in short about this sector. It offers services. Offers services. So can talk of tourism companies, you can talk of banks, they offer services. That is tertiary sector. Hope we are together with people. Hope we are still together. Hope we are still on one page. Let us move on. So now we move on to the possible business challenges and the environments and extend control. Possible business challenges, the environments, and extend control. So we are saying we're going to talk about the possible challenges. Here are the examples of the possible challenges, business environment, as well as the extent control. We can see here we're talking about difficult employees or high rate of absenteeism. Difficult employees. So we are talking about that workers may be unproductive or absent. They can be unproductive or absent. You'll find that workers are missing work regularly. They are missing work regularly. Also, we are talking about lack of vision and mission. So here we are talking about no clear direction or goals. No clear direction or goals. Business does not know what it wants to achieve. That is that. Also, we have lack of adequate management skills. Here we are talking about poor leadership affects performance. That is a challenge. Poor performance affects what? A performance. So if we have those managers we are without necessary skills to do the work, or they don't have leadership skills, the performance of the business is going to decline, it's going to drop. Also, we have union strikes and go slows. So here we're talking about workers protest internally. So employees slow down work intentionally. So these are the challenges that are found within the business. Because once we are talking about the employees, we are talking about the variable that is found within the business. Vision and missions are within the organization. They are found inside the business. Managements are employees of the business. They are found inside the business. Same as unions, strikes, and then as well as coastal. So now we want to know the business environment. The business environment is micro environment. And we know the extent control now, it will be the business has a full control over those variables. Because with difficult employees, you can change that as a business. You have control. You can control them not to come late or not to be absent from them. You can change your vision and mission. So that is that. You can hire the management or you can provide training for those who lack skills. So that is that. You have a full control over that. So hope we are together. Hope we are together, good people. So let us move on to another a challenge. So here we have competition. We have competition. So once we are talking about those competition, suppliers and stuff, we are talking about they are in the market, they are in the market environment. Competition. We know competition that is whereby other business are offering similar products as the same as of your business. That is a competition and it's a challenge. Shortages of supply. Shortage of supply. Not enough raw materials or goods. So you see that there is a lack of flour, which is going to affect a bakery to do the work. It's a challenge. Demographics and psychographics. Here we're talking about customer characteristics and their lifestyle. It's a challenge because they're going to challenge your business. Young people preferring trendy, proven. You see, that is when you're talking about the characteristics and lifestyle. Socio-cultural, we are talking about beliefs, values, traditions affect the buying. So that is that. You find, for example, demand for halal food in a certain communities. You see, that's their culture. So these are all under market environment. And the external control, that is a partial or some or limited or less control. The business has no full control on competition. You cannot stop the competition. All you can do is you can influence, you can have an influence of saying for you to beat the competition or have competitive advantage, you're going to provide your products in such a way that the customers will want them. You're going to give quality products, or you're going to sell your products in a cheaper prices so that customers who are buying on the basis of prices will come more into a business force for you to enjoy more sales. You can just have influence, but you don't have a full control on that. Hope you're together, good people. Let us move on to another challenge. Let us move on to another challenge. Here we have a challenge where we are seeing change in income levels. Change in income levels to affect the business. People earn more or less money. Because if they earn more, it means you're going to have more profits, more sales. But what about if they earn less? There is nothing you're going to do, and that is going to affect your business negatively. So that is that. So customers, they buy less during economic downturn. So that is that. Contemporary legislation. So when you talk of legislation, you're talking about laws. So government rules business must follow. As a business, you are to follow them. So that is legislation. We can talk of minimum wage laws. Minimum wage laws. If people, the minimum wage law or minimum wages is 5,000, there is nothing we can do as a business. You can't change that. You have no control over that. Labor restrictions. You're talking about rules about employment. So that is that. Political changes. We're talking about changes in the government or policies. Talk of new tax policies introduced. As a business, you have nothing. You don't have control. You can't change anything. Interest rates, cost of borrowing money. For example, high interest rates increase loan cost. That is that. Socio-economic issues. That is social and economic problems. HIV and AIDS, health issues affecting workforce. Globalization and international challenges, that is business operating worldwide. These are all the challenges that are under micro environment. They are under micro environment where we are saying business has no control under extent control. So you should remember when we talked about them, there's a macro environment and definition you said is an external environment that is very far from the business. So it means you have no control as a business. So that is that. So let's move on to this note that is very important. Take into consideration this note. You will only be able to do the following. Code business challenges from the scenario. Classify these challenges according to the business environment. So those challenges you are to tell the business environment. Like we are saying, these are our challenges. Their business environment are micro, market, as well as macro. Also, the challenge must be linked to the business environments. So the challenges that you're going to code from the scenario, link them into to the business environment. State the extent control of business have over each business environment. And the extent control must be linked to the business environment. So that is how easy it is. And these are this topic, when it is asked, it is always asked whereby it is asked by the extracts. You are given extracts, and when you are to identify the challenges and then tell their business environment as well as their extend control. Hope you understand this. So, thank you very much for your time. This is the end of this presentation. So make sure that you do share with others. Thank you.